What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, the Sheep of Wall Street here, and we're back with episode 22 of my video game therapy series. It's been like a week, so I got a full list. Hopefully I have coming back with some energy and can, have some more digestible insights because it has been a while. I don't know whether maybe it'd be worse not coming back sharp. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I don't know if it will be a better, comparatively, again, better using whatever metrics you want, a better episode because I haven't done one in a while and I have lots of ideas brimming and things to talk about. Or it'd be worse because I'm like off my game, I guess, since I haven't been pumping these out. So, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I don't know. It really could be either. So I guess we will see. But it's a perfect amount. But first things first, I figured it all out. I got it. I have the answer. It sounds ridiculous, but I think I've discovered, not really discovered, I don't want to make it seem like it's a eureka moment. More just as like a more satisfying answer for me, which again, it really depends on the person. So a satisfying answer to me is the epitome of dissatisfaction for someone else. So it's really hard for that to mean much. But a satisfying answer in terms of what maybe the intersection of what I value and what I am doing with my life, I guess. And it kind of, and really what I'll say is that it's a more future-proof internal dialogue or philosophy that I could subscribe to, right? It's a past-proof and a future-proof, right? Because a lot of the big issues with kind of trying to generalize, your psychology or your, purpose of your life or whatever, it's hard because it's either not, it doesn't represent your past very well or your actions up to this point, or you don't want it to represent your future, right? Or you don't want to box yourself in. And I think this description, at least in the way that I understand it, kind of serves to, serves both of those ideas, the past and future, potential future of whatever I'm doing. Really, and I really hate generalizing, but I'm going to generalize here because I want to, so go fuck yourself. But you can kind of think of, maybe not people, but the psychology of people's lives in 3 different buckets. Buckets just being, another term for kind of generalizations, not baskets, Clinton, but, buckets of, rusty buckets, no. Buckets of ways to generalize people's inner psychologies and actions, which I realize is reductive by nature, but there's not really a way to do it without it, so go fuck yourself. So the first, and I won't take entire credit for this, but it's been digested enough that I don't think citing anything is worthwhile, really, just because it's, who would I be citing, right? It wouldn't really reflect anything else. It's just been kind of a conglomerate of what I've heard. So there's kind of 3 buckets that I'm going to define and use with this. And this is just kind of how you justify your decisions and what you do with your life, right? In terms of why you do certain things, why you pursue a career, relationships that you do, or why you do anything, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to go after here. Not necessarily that I'm doing a bang-up job, but that's what I'm attempting to kind of group together with this. So the 3 buckets I've defined are kind of 2 ends of the spectrum, and then the 3rd bucket is kind of in the middle. Although it's probably not most accurately thought of in that way. Maybe it would, maybe it is. I don't know. You can make your own judgment. So the first is people that maximize happiness. So this is similar to a utilitarian idea where whatever you're doing, whether it's an immediate gratification or a delayed gratification, is all in the end goal of maximizing your happiness. And happiness I'm going to define as this transient amount of satisfaction from whatever. So it's like, I'm going to go drink a beer because it'll feel better and it'll make me more happy now. And even your actions, it's like, okay, I'm just going to work extra hard today so that I can drink. I'm not just saying drink. I'm just saying that's an example of something that is a very directly make me feel good about myself instantly. Instant gratification thing is like, oh, I'm going to go do this so I can drink a beer. I can drink more beer later. But it's really like, I'm going to make $1 million just so I don't have to do anything. I can be happy. I can go party and do whatever. I can just pursue happiness as my life goal. So whether it's immediate gratification acts, so just indulging in whatever is going to make you happiest at that exact instant, that falls into this category, as well as delaying gratification with the sole purpose of having more later, but still very transient happy thing. So I want to be as happy as possible, and if I'm not happy right now, it's because I'm setting myself up to be even happier later. And again, happiness is this short-term thing, but even like delayed gratification is simply the expectation of more short-term happiness later, which to me I just see as this never-ending jog on the hedonic treadmill, or the exercise to really show the power of the hedonic set point, something I kind of covered earlier, so I won't go deep into that. So that's kind of one end of the spectrum. I don't think anyone ever operates, some people probably do, but operates like entirely in that realm where they do everything and anything is just to be as happy as possible at that very instant. Like there's no additional nuance to it. And I don't think people operate completely in that sense. I think some people operate more in the guise of, I'm going to delay gratification now so that I can be even happier later, right? I think that's maybe a more realistic application of someone that lives the very, very end of this spectrum. The other end of the spectrum that I'm defining here is the like purposeful life, a purposeful existence, right? So they kind of dedicate their energy, their thoughts towards some purpose greater than themselves. So they are a social activist of some kind, or they're a whatever kind of activist you want to define. I'm not good at defining these activists, but they do it all for some higher purpose, right? They're trying to make a difference, whatever that may mean, and they're willing to sacrifice any amount of long-term happiness or short-term gratification, right? So they'll instead of kind of enjoying maybe their money, going to buy a beer or something, they will just give their money to a homeless person so that they have scratched that itch of doing something beyond their own thing, right? And you see this with people that pursue endeavors that don't really net them any like happiness or even like gratification beyond just them feeling like they did the right thing, right? And so they kind of purposely damage their own like day-to-day happiness in terms of how good they feel at a certain time, with the intention of being a part of something or fighting for something greater than themselves. That's another end of the spectrum. A lot of people, again, kind of mix and match these, and they exist on this continuum, or maybe sometimes they're on they're kind of just after their own happiness. They're going to use this weekend and they're going to have fun and not going to worry about whatever greater purpose. They're not going to help the homeless, whatever, because they're going to do their thing this weekend or whatever. I don't even know, whatever. And then other times I'm going to go volunteer to soup kitchen because I'm a good person and I want to feel good about myself, whatever. So there's that, right? And that kind of exists on this spectrum. So the third bucket, and the one that is most satisfying to me, which I won't take credit for defining this, but I think like the YouTube channel that the guy that described this, which again I hate crediting a fucking YouTube video for what seems to be a satisfying answer to my kind of internal strife. His YouTube channel is like Sisyphus55 or something, so you can look it up if you want. But he defines what he calls a psychologically rich life, and it's not that you're after a balance of like higher meaning and happiness per se. So think about like the middle of the spectrum between pursuing greater meaning and pursuing just pure happiness. So it's not like you're not operating in the middle. That's not where this third bucket lies. It's almost in a sense where you view things with a certain neutrality, and the end goal being to just kind of take life, I guess, for a ride. So to try a variety of experiences, and again, not really view things as being in the lens of happiness, where it's like, oh, I was unhappy during this period of my life. I was unhappy doing this. I was happy doing this, or whatever it is. It's closer to a understanding that that's going to wane regardless. There's not really an amount of control you have over all that stuff, but the fuck. But having just a certain amount of neutrality with life's experiences, and trying to experience a variety of things to live a varied and full life that is one that kind of maximizes even just like wisdom in a sense, right? Because you, like, especially someone that specializes in something that dedicates their life to, let's say, changing the economic disparity of, some random country or something. I don't know. They're going to do something great for some poor people or something. I don't know. And, maybe they might be an expert on that, or they've lived their entire life through that lens. They're going to have a hard time seeing through other perspectives, right? They're not really going to see it through the lens of this, Wall Street exec, or an actor or something, right? Or a baker. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, and I'm not saying these people that pursue this psychologically rich life are out, doing 30 days of like these speed runs of all these different careers to try and maximize the amount of stuff they've tried. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they ultimately view the things that happen to them and a lot of their life's up and downs, not in the sense of like, oh no, like it's as negative for my happiness, or this is negative towards my pursuit of this greater meaning or this higher purpose that I've subscribed to. It's more of just like the sense of neutrality, where it's this was an interesting experience regardless. There was, it kind of provides a lot of perspective regardless. And it's not to say these people have no direction. They tend to have less direction. And again, I'm obviously putting myself in this category, otherwise it wouldn't be something I'd be talking about. They tend to struggle more with making bigger end decisions because they're not driven by what's going to maximize their immediate happiness. Whereas like some people say, I want to make a bunch of money. I want to make a bunch of money just so I can do whatever the fuck I want and be happy. That's great. Like that's a fine like thing to do. But that way you can just pick whatever's going to make you the most money. It's a pretty simple equation. It's not like there's much else that goes into that. And then if you're someone who's kind of going towards a higher purpose, you might be like, well, I'm just going to do whatever's going to, fix the economic system in Nigeria, or whatever my purpose is, whether it's making sure everyone tries scuba diving or something. And I can bring that stupid example back, but I'll bag it for now just because it is pretty stupid. And that's a pretty easy decision to make too. It's simple. Just do whatever's going to maximize your impact on your whatever thing that you choose to pursue, whether it's scuba diving or whatever other bullshit. But the people who, like me, tend to fall in this more like, not like directionless in the sense that, oh, I don't know what I want to do. It's not even that like I don't care what I want to do, because obviously it's just you tend to get bored of things quicker. It's more difficult to decide on a certain like to really sacrifice large allotments of your time. Whereas if you're after happiness and you just think, okay, you've decided that money's going to make you really, really happy, just go to make as much money as possible. That's a pretty simple goal. Your direction is quite simple. Like, just make as much money as you possibly can. That's what you're after. It's a relatively simple, like, internal message. Versus if you're after a higher purpose, it's, again, the message is pretty simple. Do whatever you can to maximize that purpose, right? Whereas in my case, it's harder. Like, I'm not really motivated by either of those. I understand that you're only going to be as happy as you are sad, so it's a lot of it's out of your control anyway. So it's not like, I think the pursuit of being happy all the time is kind of pointless. Again, because I talked about the hedonic set point and how you'll kind of always reset to this normal medium regardless of what you end up doing or how your life ends up shaking out, whether you're a billionaire or you're homeless. For the most part, you're it's not going to be, you might have periods where it's going to be worse or better, but ultimately it fades off and settles at this average that isn't much different in either case. So the pursuit of something like happiness is doesn't have a long-term vision. It's fruitless in a lot of ways. At least I view it as such. And then this higher purpose, it's difficult for me to pick one thing that I just think is so utterly important, right? So again, I hate bringing the scuba diving example back, but it's just stupid enough to not insult anything real. And I'm sorry if you actually think scuba diving is the answer to all of life's problems, but I'm gonna make it'll be my little punching bag during this thing. But like the idea that there's this one thing that is so important to me that I'll give my life for and sacrifice all my working hours and waking hours to do to fight against is just not the case. There's not really a topic that I care so unbelievably much about that I'm willing to disregard everything and sacrifice all my happiness and all my satisfaction towards this one goal. And some people just kind of drift between them. Like, they are where I'm at and they just decide, okay, well, it's not going to go anywhere. You just got to pick something. So then they just pick something, and then every couple of years they shift gears and are into something else now. And again, I kind of see that coming. It's I'm not going to fall for it, right? Even if there's something that comes out, it's like, ooh, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I'm not going to be baited by that, internally. And part of that's, kind of leaves you in this analysis paralysis mode where you don't really know. You're just still trying to. It's hard to decide, really, is what that means. So yeah, it's tough, and there's. And I mean, in a lot of ways, I envy the people that don't have that decision is kind of made for them because they have discovered something that, whether they're not ever able to convince themselves out of a passion of some sort, and I'll just put passion in quotes, or whatever it is, ultimately I would. I seem to be not as easy to fool myself, right? I feel like I, to a certain extent, can't let myself be fooled by myself, type of thing, which is tough. But I enjoy the idea of kind of viewing things with a sense of neutrality and kind of picking and choosing where I'm at on that happiness to higher purpose, overall motivation scale on a transient basis. And because the other thing is it lends itself to less extreme psychological experiences, which could be good or bad. And I mean that mostly in avoiding bad, right? Because your world can kind of fall apart if, let's say, you are all after money. You're gonna make as much money as you possibly can, as quick as you can. That's your goal. That's what you're doing. And that's fine. That could be a thing. But then, like, if you try for 20 years and one day you look up and you're like, what the it didn't work. It flubbed. And then you're like, wow, I just wasted however many years trying to make money and none of it even worked. So the hell was all that for? And then you kind of have this midlife crisis where you're just like, oh, what the fuck? Which I think it lends itself in both ways, because also if you're just pursuing happiness and you're like, I'm just going to do whatever's going to make me happy, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, why am I a janitor at like 50? Because I was just doing whatever was happiness or was going to make me happiest, quickest, right? Or if you're, going to kind of support scuba diving to the moon, and all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, man, scuba diving is actually pretty stupid. Why did I just spend 30 years like being such an advocate for scuba diving? It's kind of dumb. And then you kind of look like an idiot because you were this like vehement scuba diving proponent, and all of a sudden you're backtracking. Everyone's like, wow, this guy's a moron. This guy can't make up his mind, or whatever it is. So you can kind of be lost in both, but you're protected in some ways if you have this not ambivalence, but this neutrality to what happens. And I don't really know in terms of an economic place that it puts you in. I don't know whether you're kind of more disposed to be better or worse off if you subscribe to either of these ideologies. I assume if you're after a higher purpose, you're not really prioritizing money in that way. So you might have less money on average or something. But I'm not really sure how effective trying to pursue the short-term happiness through an avenue of maximizing your money, how valuable that really is. Ooh, these guys there's a zombie in here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting thought. But I'm kind of leaning towards this idea of just trying to live a rich, kind of a wild ride type life. That's the easiest way I can kind of define it, is whatever ends up happening, kind of it is what it is. But either way, it makes for a great story, right? It'll make for a great story whether or not whatever you do ends up being successful. If it does, it makes for a great story. If it completely fails, it makes for a great story. And so maybe it lends itself to taking more risks, and being somewhat haphazard and random in that regard too. Even why are you even doing this? It just doesn't really seem, so it, in a lot of ways, you are also kind of this weird, you make strange decisions, and how did I lose one? I don't know. But you make sometimes strange decisions in the eyes of some, because it's why would you even do that? But another one, wow. But either way, I think it makes for interesting stories. Makes for that kind of that wild ride type of thing. I guess that's the easiest way for me to describe it without totally losing the point. But I don't know, to me, that at least for right now, that seems to be a satisfying answer, I guess, for lack of a better word, to what I'm after at this point in time. Since being totally happiness driven, I think is a dead end, for certain. And I don't have some direct greater call to higher purpose, right? It's not like somebody's come down from the heavens to tell me that I must pursue with every breathing moment of my life to advocate for scuba diving. I am kind of left in this weird, area where I'm trying to think of the word, whatever. Left in this weird area where the psychologically rich life has lended itself to being a meaningful descriptor of what I'm doing right now, what I've done, what my life has consisted of thus far, and what it will continue to consist of for the foreseeable future. So that's why I'm sharing it, because I think it's an interesting thing, and it kind of makes sense. And you kind of see people some people are very happiness driven. They want to do whatever is going to be the most fun for them at the time. Maybe they're less spontaneous because they know what they enjoy and they just want to enjoy their life and their weekends or whatever. And you see people that they don't care. They're kind of after one bigger purpose, whatever it is. They have this calling, for lack of a better word. I realize that sometimes it's not as literal as that, or even just like some kind of blind choice to dedicate their life to something. And you have other people that are just more like, dude, I don't know, like, I don't know, it's just, I'm fine with, you want to like go to a pumpkin patch, like fucking weirdo, like whatever, let's do it, I don't care. Send it. Which is kind of this more spontaneous attitude, which might lend itself to that more psychologically rich life that I'm kind of following right now. So it's I don't know, to me at least for now, that's a satisfying enough answer to a lot of things. So that's kind of what I've looped everything into. But anyway, I thought I'd share that just because it's an interesting way to kind of bucket, I guess, people, for lack of a better word, but just psychologies of people, right? So why do people do what they do? This kind of makes sense. Some people are very happiness driven. Some people are purpose driven. Some people are in this nebulous, not middle area per se. They're kind of on the outskirts. And of course, I'm that guy. I tend to view things as being more complex and not as simple. And, I err on the side of things being more complex and being less complex, which is often a tricky thing to go down just because it's really hard. It's damn near impossible to really fully dissect anything, regardless of complexity, because, again, I tend to believe things are generally more complex than they are. But anyway, I'm done with that aside. Let's talk about something less abstract. Here's another little bucket rant, I suppose. So, I don't know what's wrong. I wash my hands a lot. Just accept that as fact, so don't question it too much. Well, anyway, as someone that washes their hands a lot, I have the privilege and/or problem of using a lot of different sinks, a lot of different places. So there are places with very high quality sinks. And again, this is not a metaphor. I'm actually talking about sinks here. So if you're trying to read into this, no, don't bother. I'm literally talking about sinks here. There's some places with historically great sinks. Airports come to mind because they have the hot water. But I want to talk a little bit about the design of a lot of sinks, especially residential sinks and gas station sinks, movie theater sinks. And again, it really depends on not even budget. Sometimes these are budget exclusives. Like a really nice place has these just shit sinks. And it's not shit because the water's bad or the pressure's bad or the soap dispenser's empty or whatever. I'm talking about the design. So first off, the basin, like the bowl of the sink, needs to be proportional to the flow or the splash rate of the water. So if you have this tiny basin, right, a small bowl for the water, and the water pressure is blasting out at like Mach 300, you're an idiot because it's going to splash everywhere. It hits my hands and then it splashes everywhere. And then it's a mess, right? That's stupid. Bad design. The other thing is the positioning of the faucet head relative to the center of the basin and the drain is important. So think about this. You have the bowl. Let's say it's a circular. There's oval shapes, but let's say there's a circular bowl. At the center of the bowl is generally the drain, right, where the water and things go down. That's standard. So why is it that I see on so many sinks that the faucet is jammed up towards like one tiny little front of the sink? Extend the faucet so that it is flowing directly down into the drain. That way my hands can go in the center of the bowl instead of mashing my hands up against the front of the sink because the faucet's too damn close. So you have all this unused real estate at the back half of the sink because the faucet is too damn close to the front of the basin. And it's unbelievable. I can't. So I wash my hands a lot. So you can tell whatever. I get really riled up, and it really pisses me off when there's clearly a big budget, right? Big budget, big bathroom budget. For God's sakes, like these really clean bathrooms, like they have the fucking the schedule on the wall for, you know, which janitor's coming in to clean it in which hour. All the signatures are on there. Full soap dispensers. They have auto dryers and paper towels, or even the paper towel baskets. But then the oversight to have the faucet like not in the center of the bowl basin is blasphemous. Absolutely blasphemous. How is it? Have you even tried washing your hands? Because generally when you wash your hands, you want to wash not only like your fingers, but kind of the meat of your hand, as well as even sometimes up a little bit on your wrists. Not like washing your arms. I'm not saying you have to be able to jam your whole elbow into the sink basin, but to be able to wash a little bit up on your hands is fine. And unless you have these little petite hands that fit very nicely, regardless of, you know, where the faucet head is, it's too damn close to the front of the sink, and it doesn't work. So you're an idiot. Whoever designed that is a moron. So the proximity of the faucet head is one big thing. The other thing that I've noticed is they'll want to do these combos, right? They don't want the soap dispenser to be separate of the faucet, so they put the soap dispenser. Like that points into the sink basin with the faucet, and especially if you're using like an automatic sensor, it's not like a handle that you turn on and off. Which I'm fine. You know, the sensors are fine. A lot of them are terrible, but I'm not going to blame the designers for that. I'll just blame the technology because they don't know where the fuck my hand is. And they don't know that I'm asking for water, or if my dick's in the sink or my hands in the sink. They have no idea. But if you're going to put the soap dispenser with another sensor in the basin, make it far enough away from where your hands are to where you're not trying to get water and you trigger the soap dispenser. Because then what the hell am I supposed to do? So, because then it's an everlasting loop. I have to like squeeze to one side, or I have to like cup and move water over away from the soap dispenser because it's too close to the sensor for water. So, again, think when you're putting these things together. What's the functionality look like? What's the user experience? And I realize that you don't want the extra cleanup of someone having to scrub soap off the countertop because some clown just spammed the button or whatever, and you just want it in the sink because you can wash it down in case somebody does that. That's fine. I understand that. But also realize that the point of the sink is to wash your hands. And if you make it to where it's impossible to get water without getting soap everywhere, the sink doesn't fucking work, and it is frustrating as hell. So, you know, that's one thing. And the other thing I think just might even be a fucking troll. I don't even know. I don't know. I feel like every time there is a hand dryer, so this is the air-powered hand dryers, they're next to an empty paper towel dispenser. Like, that's like the whole design of it, is that the hand dryers, I'm going to be honest. Again, I'm a proponent of, the environment, whatever, clearly. But the hand dryers are so ineffective. I mean, to a fault. I mean, they do almost nothing. And I'm not even going to fault, I'm not going to put blame on anybody for that. It's a piece of technology that's just garbage. I'm sorry. But Like, don't even include the prospect of a paper towel dispenser and get my hopes up if it's freaking empty. Like, then you're an asshole. Because you've got my hopes up about, okay, well, this hand dryer is trash. I'm just going to use a paper towel dispenser because it's just better. It's superior. But then it's fucking empty all the time. Like, I see it a lot. That's just a short aside on whoever decides to lay out these bathrooms. It's freaking stupid. It's basically a given. Anytime you see a paper towel dispenser next to a hand dryer, just know that the paper towel dispenser is there just to trick you into thinking, oh, if the hand dryer doesn't work, I'll just use a paper towel. No, it's empty. Forget about it. Anyway, I think that was just funny to me. That it seemed like it was a direct relationship between an empty paper towel dispenser and a hand dryer. And the last thing that I'll say, and again, this might just be a me problem, so it's not like I'm expecting anyone to relate to this super well. Can we think a little bit about the height of the sink? And the test I use for this is if the sink is low enough to give me a piss stain on my pants when the water, because inevitably this is what happens, right? I go to wash my hands somewhere because I touched something or I just need to wash my hands, all right? Don't question why I need to wash my hands. That's why you have bathrooms. So I go in there to wash my hands. Okay, the sink is like level with mid-thigh, so it's pretty low comparatively. And I understand that, okay? I guess you're trying to cater to people that aren't as tall or something. That's fine. I get that. I'm not gonna hate on anyone for that. That's fair. But then you have this tiny little sink basin. So I think, oh, it's probably weak water pressure, right? And it's probably a slower drip, so there's not as much splash. Well, anyway, lo and behold, the thing is just blasting water at 1,000 miles an hour, and it sprays all over my hands. And of course, because the sink is so low, it'll spray all over my crotch, looking like I pissed myself, washing my hands. And so instead of someone who is clean, who didn't even go to the bathroom, I just went in there to wash my hands. Now it looks like I was someone who's dirty as fuck, who went to the bathroom, pissed themselves, didn't even wash their hands. Their hands are soaked in piss up to their elbows because the water pressure is so high it splashes everywhere. And then now it looks like a fucking weirdo with piss-soaked pants. I'm just asking for bathroom designers everywhere. Just be better. I don't know if there's a company that does it. I don't know who's responsible for this. But when a bathroom design is done well, it's impressive. It is beyond appreciated by someone like me. And yeah, maybe I'm a minority that cares about the structure and the functionality of bathrooms, but considering as a universal thing, everyone's impacted by the bathroom. Everyone. I mean, unless you don't go to the bathroom in public or something. I'm talking about at all, like to wash your hands, to pee, to change, like to do anything you to do in the public bathroom. It benefits everyone, right? Whereas if you put in a lactation room or something, you're only kind of, catering towards a certain percentage of people that are going to use that. Everybody uses the bathroom. So it makes sense to invest in it in a way that is going to be beneficial for everyone, not just your a tiny subs. Everyone uses the bathroom. So invest in it. Make it not shit. Anyway, that's my sink rant. So I hope you got a kick out of that. And again, it's a weird thing, but that's the point of these. It's just for me to rant about weird stuff. But yeah, anyway, I got riled up about crappy bathrooms. Airplanes generally, though, do a great job. I'll give airplanes the credit. Aside from the sin of soap dispensers too close to the water faucet, airplanes generally do a pretty good job of bathrooms and sinks. So I'll give them props there. I'm not gonna hate too harshly on them. But yeah, I don't know. When the bathroom is done well, it is a benefit for everyone. Believe me. So I don't know. Just saying, people should think and kind of invest more in better bathrooms, better sinks, especially. The sinks are the worst part. Everyone should wash their hands. Everyone should be washing their hands. Not everyone's going to use a urinal. Okay, some people just don't use a urinal. Some people like to take massive dumps in public bathrooms. Like, okay, whatever. But the sinks are universal. Everyone uses a sink for what should be multiple times a day. And if you don't, you're probably not washing your hands enough. I probably wash my hands way more than you should. But either way, it's a universal thing. Everybody, regardless of anything, uses sinks. So we should invest in it. All right. Well, I'll move on. Anyway, let's think. Somebody asked me about, this is a while ago, so I'm just kind of getting back to it now. The likelihood of aliens, aka like other intelligent life forms. And my kind of boilerplate response to this, which isn't really satisfying to anyone, but is what I'm going to say, so go fuck yourself, is it's kind of the play of ignorance. I mean, how am I supposed to know, right? I mean, we could just sit here and guess. And I suppose you could have the mathematical approach, which is what I'll take, because a skeptic's approach isn't really fun to dive into here, so I'm not going to be a complete skeptic. I'll try and play some math odds here. So we think about the size of the universe, and I'm not going to bother going into scale, because humans generally have a terrible sense of scale beyond, the size of their dick, or, the size of the Empire State Building, right? Terrible sense of scale on a galactic scale. So think about the size of the universe and the length of time the universe has existed. And again, I'm gonna subscribe to the Big Bang Theory here, just so we're on the same page. So I'm not arguing with somebody that believes in the turtle theory or whatever the fuck. So Big Bang Theory, the amount of time that the universe has existed and the size of the universe, it's ever expanding. And then from that, like the amount of time it took us to evolve into intelligent life forms. I think the only real difficult play on this whole thing is deciding since we only have really one intelligent life form to go off of, we don't know on average how long it takes to develop intelligent life, starting from the beginning of life. And again, we've defined life in our own ways as the human race, so it's difficult to define it. Maybe if you define it in terms of anything with a cell or anything that can reproduce as life. I mean, I don't know. We don't really know the scale in which life at all, much less intelligent life, develops. And again, I'm not going to say that, we found life on, planet Galactatron or some shit like that. Maybe. I don't fucking know. So I don't know whatever. I'm missing more of these idiots? Damn. Anyway, I think if we had more of a sample size in terms of sorry, I'm getting distracted by feeding these idiots. More of a sample size in terms of intelligent life, I'd be able to give a better approximation. But since we only have one, we don't really know. We don't really know how long it takes to develop intelligent life on average. But if we had an average, let's say it takes an average of, I don't know, 1 billion years or something, to develop intelligent life, starting from the creation of a planet that is habitable. So then we have to use approximations to figure out how many habitable planets there have been, and there are, and there will be in the future, whatever. Then you have to say, okay, well, out of those, if it takes on average this long to develop intelligent life on this many planets, the probability of intelligent life developing, given our current scale of the universe and time, there's our percentage of about how likely it is that intelligent life exists. I realize I haven't put a single number on any of this, and you're probably just only listening to this to me to say yes or no, right? Which is, I'd be an idiot if I just said yes or no, because everything's more complex than that. That's how I view things. So my answer is just that of a skeptic, but I think if we had if we had even just one other data point, it'd be very, very biased, right? It'd still be very, very biased. But if we had one other data point of life that has been developed, we would have a much better idea of the likelihood of life existing on other planets. So let's say, hypothetically, we find another intelligent species. We could take, again, just an average of the time it took for us to develop intelligent life, and maybe the time it took for that planet to develop life at all. We're not even going to say intelligent life, because we kind of have an idea. So I think from when life started to when intelligent life developed, I don't know what the time frame is, but there's a certain period of time between when the first life was created from whatever to when intelligent life was developed. We have that time period. But if we found another, any bit of life, intelligent or not, we'd be able to kind of predict even when they might become intelligent. I think we'd have a very, very rough, there'd be so much error in this, it's not even funny, but we'd have a very, very rough estimate of approximately how long it would take for, or approximately how likely it is that other intelligent life exists. Unfortunately, we don't have any of that, so we're just going to be grasping at straws and guessing, and then some clown is going to say this and that. Everyone's guess is just as terrible as the next guy. Honestly, if you just want, I think the easiest way to think about it is just, if you want to be special, you're special, okay? We're the only one that exists, yay, like, you know, clap yourself home. And yeah, I mean, we want to be special, right? It's nice to be special. People love being special. I like being special. So it's just be special. Think you're special. It's fine. I don't think it's a problem. Think that no other life exists. I don't think it's that big of an issue that people are. I don't think it's ignorant to say that we're the only intelligent life that exists. I mean, ignorant to whom? So I don't know. There's not a right or wrong answer. There's just there's a right and wrong way to think about it, I think. So if you're either way, I think with the lack of any more data points, or the limited amount of data that we have, it's really hard to give any kind of probability or estimate, which is what I would want to do. I'm not gonna just give a blanket yes or no without any justification. I'd try to justify whatever it is with some kind of probability or estimate or something. However inaccurate it might be, because I realize it would be really inaccurate. But anyway, that's my thought on intelligent life. So, I mean, I don't know. I probably would have to do some math on. I have to make some random guesses, right, with some variables. So I would just, again, I would take the amount of time it took for us to develop, to become intelligent after life is developed, and then I would I would just pick some random number for, I'd find the number of habitable planets, and I'd probably just have to pick the likelihood that life develops in the amount of time that the universe has existed. So that's kind of where the random nature comes in, where the real questions lie. But with those random guesses, I could probably come up with some percentage. It'd be really low, but it would be non-zero. So this just means I can't outright disprove or say that everything is wrong, because it's not. So it wouldn't be zero, but it'd be really, really small probably. But again, really, really small and not zero are two different very, 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 very things. So even if it was 0.000001 on the galactic scale, that a non-zero value is significant, meaning that even just one other intelligent life form is significant. So I don't know. I don't know the percentage. So I guess I'll just remain a skeptic until I have any other reason not to. But yeah. So that's what I think. Hopefully that wasn't satisfying at all. I mean, that was kind of a standard question that people get asked. Oh, what's? Do you think there's aliens, bro? It's like a high, I just smoked a pound of weed take, Bro, is there aliens? You'd be crazy, bro. It's like, I fucking hate you. Yeah. Anyway, so whatever. yeah. So yeah, that's my take. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to the next thing. I've kind of 180'd from this since I wrote it down, so you'll have to excuse me. But there was like a day where I just felt I didn't want to do freaking anything, and everything was just requiring willpower from me, which was beyond frustrating. But that's kind of came and went. Honestly, the last like 2 days have been relatively solid in terms of like productivity and stuff, so that's fine. I guess part of it is and I think everyone deals with this, especially if you have shit to do, is just like sometimes you feel guilty not being productive, and you're always in this internal battle, and this and that, and yeah, the easy thing is just to have some patience for yourself. Some of that I think has gone too far, in the sense it's like, oh, it's okay to just do nothing. It's okay to eat a quart of ice cream and do nothing all day. At some point you have to draw a line somewhere. It's like one thing I noticed along this line is that people with some kind of neurodiversity. I'm not gonna go too deep into this because this is a pretty deep rabbit hole. So I'll kind of tackle this in a separate episode. But the idea behind neurodiversity is that everyone has different. Everyone's brain works differently, so they all think and act and do things differently, and they're motivated differently, and they do work different speeds and whatever. That's fine. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Everyone is different. They all think different. Some people work faster, they work slower, whatever. Just draw a line somewhere, right? So if one of the things with neurodiversity is like it's not my fault I don't get any work done, I have ADHD. Look, I understand that ADHD is an illness. It affects a lot of people and is really hard for some people to get stuff done. I get it. But if you just use it as an excuse for everything, or an excuse to not do anything, you can't really differentiate between someone who is actually very, very affected by an illness like that, who like literally can't do anything, is like genuinely struggling, versus someone who's just lazy. And again, to some extent, it kind of lends itself to be said like, oh, there's no such thing as being lazy. We're just all motivated differently. So if you don't feel like doing anything, it's not because you're lazy. It's because you're neurodivergent. And look, again, maybe to some people, in some cases, to some extent, that might be true. We have to draw a line somewhere. Somebody has to be called lazy. If you're saying that laziness does not exist, I'm not sure that I agree with that. And again, I'm just, typical neurotypical person speaking here. You don't think laziness exists? Laziness exists. I have to declare that as a fact, because in the sense that it doesn't, then you can't blame anyone for anything. Any crime that someone commits is not because it's their own fault. It's not because of their decision. Because the lazy person's take on getting money would just be to rob somebody. Well, he's not a criminal. He just is neuro. What the fuck? Oh, damn it! These idiots, get back there. Those little squirts. And you can't blame anyone for everything. So somebody likes kids, and all of a sudden it's okay. They're just neurodiverse. What? No, we have to draw a line somewhere. I'm drawing a line there. That is no, absolutely not. So same way, somebody has to be lazy. We have to draw a line somewhere. So I don't know. I just think it's laziness has to exist. You can't. It has to be someone's fault to some extent. It can't be no one's fault ever, right? So you can't just kind of deflect blame ever. We have to assign blame for things, right? People that do shitty things should be blamed for it. You can't always just blame, some nebulous. It's a whole other thing. Maybe I should, because it is kind of a controversial topic, I suppose. So maybe I should get my thoughts together more before spewing stuff like this. Either way, I always err on the side of, I'm going to take responsibility. It's my fault. I'm not going to blame my ADHD, my OCD for washing my hands too much. I'm just going to say, yeah, I need to stop washing my hands. I'm not going to, pretend like it's something that everyone has to, oh, you have to pay me a bunch of money and for me to do nothing because I'm neurodiverse or something. Again, I should probably get my thoughts together before I start saying stuff like this, because this is it is a sensitive topic for some people. But either way, I have more thoughts on that. Since we are at time, I'm going to stop. But I'll get back onto that later. I do have more opinions on neurodiversity as a blanket subject, as well as personal responsibility, because I tend to err on that side. Whether or not I think it's, some people agree to it to a fault. Like everything is always your fault. That's not always true. I think there's certainly a lot, especially with the, how people are just lucky or unlucky. Not everything's your fault or is to credit to you, right? So your good and bad things aren't all because of your own doing, right? You didn't do everything. You didn't cause everything bad that happens to you, and you didn't cause everything good that's ever happened to you. So it's somewhere in the middle. And personal responsibility would say the former. I would say it's not your fault, but it's not all your fault. So, there's a gray area. Anyway, there's more to be said on that. I'm going to pause for now. So thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time, and peace out.